Welcome to part 6 of the video series where we develop a simple to-do list web application from scratch in C.
So in the previous video we were able to get the web server up and running, which sends a simple hello world back to the client. So in this video let's add a couple more features to our little program here. So now we would like the ability to be able to send back responses in JSON. So this way we will have some more capabilities of a modern API server. So in our main function, currently we're just sending a hello world back, which is not really useful. So what we would like to do is to enhance our library such that we can send back an array of items or to-do list items back to the client, and probably also a way for the users, for the clients to post a to-do item and add it to the array. So we don't have any databases or anything at the moment, so we will keep everything internally in the memory. So we'll define an array of items and then work with it here. So before we do that, we need to enhance our response send message. So right now this is doing a hard-coded response sort of. So we are hard coding the HTTP version, and status only supports 200. So we need the ability to send back JSON. That means the content type will be application JSON instead of text plain. So to make it a bit more dynamic, let's add a couple of functions. Send, okay, and this can take a request. What else? Regarding the status, so anyway we are passing the status code and the status text here. So why don't we combine these two and make it as a status text? So we can define some context constants for the status text. So this way we don't have to do any complicated if logic here. So anyway the list of status codes are limited, so should be pretty easy to implement. So let's say char star status. For headers, let's make it as a string. So okay, we'll see later how we can enhance this and maybe provide a way to add a list of headers, but for now I think it's better to just pass this as a string. So I will just keep it as a char star, and of course the body of the text. So I'm calling it body because it can be simple text, HTML or CSS or a file, whatever. Okay, and the same way we need to allocate the response. So this will be, alright, I'm just approximating here. So we need the body and some characters for the headers. So let's keep it as 50, the same way as before. And okay, so let's copy the same thing, but here we need to make a couple of changes. So we have this, we don't need this number because we are expecting the status to be a string, and we don't need this either. So this will be part of the headers. So this will be %s, okay, and then of course the body status, okay, status headers body, okay, and then write it back to the client and free, of course. We can also add a condition here to check whether the write has been successful or not. So this should be greater than 0, and actually let's do it. If it is less than 0, we will do a p error, unable to respond to the client. Okay, so this will take care of this warning as well. Perfect. So we have the response send method. We'll have to declare it at the top. We'll see. So regarding the response send text, we can simplify this now. So we just have to, we can call this response send method now, which will take the request. Oh, oopsie. Status, we don't have the headers yet. We'll do that now. And text. Okay. So we can define the headers. Content type text slash main. Okay, so we are creating the headers here and passing it to the response send. Perfect. So now that we have this method, we can also reuse it for sending something like HTML. So this can be a caster HTML, although it's pretty much the same thing. This can be text slash HTML, just to quality of life things. Perfect. Okay. What else did we miss so far? So we will have to declare this at the top. Okay, so we will be renaming this to response and text. Okay, and also response and JSON, and the status is going to be char star. Perfect. And this is just renaming it to make it a bit more clear. Send text and send JSON. So far I'm not putting this in the header file because I'm not sure if I'm going to make it as part of the interface for the client. I mean the caller program. So since we are taking this as a string now, let's define a few constants to make it a bit more easier. So we will need to define a few hash define status. Okay, this will be 200. Okay, so status created, maybe 201 created. Okay, let's see. HTTP status codes. Let's see what all we need. So we have 200. Okay, 201 created. Okay, it's using K capital. I don't know if it makes a difference, but anyway, 201 created. So I don't think we'll be using any of these at the moment, so let's skim down. Redirection, meh, leave it for now. And then bad request, of course we will need it when we are doing some validations. Status bad. Okay, and of course the status not found. Actually it's 4/4. Not authorized. Actually it's called unauthorized. I don't know if we will ever need that, but let's keep it there. And then also the internal server. See. Okay, think that should be it. So let's modify our program. This will be response send text, same here, and request status Okay. All right, let's see if it works. Of course not. We don't need semicolons in the macros. Response and text should take a request. Send text. Okay. Did we define it here? Okay, so this should be char star. Ooh. So web server.c response and text should take request. Okay. Request char star. Okay, so response and take char star. Everything looks good here, and also here. What else did we miss? Too many errors. Wow. Huh? Unknown type name include. For some reason the first character was deleted. Use of undeclared identified text in web server 289. This should be HTML. Okay. Are we good now? Yes. Okay. So I think we are good now. It's a bit more polished now. So the next thing we need is the ability to handle JSON. So for that we can of course implement the JSON parsing and JSON string parsing ourselves, which is the scope of another video. I don't want to overcomplicate this. Instead, let's use a lightweight library. So there is a library called CJSON. So this is a pretty simple library which can take care of converting structures to JSON or vice versa. Of course, we can construct the JSON ourselves, but I think if you want to make this a bit more usable, it will be better to use this. And this is pretty simple and lightweight, so I don't mind. So for that we need to include the cjson.h, but of course we need to include it. Actually, we need to install it because this does not come with the standard library. So you can use any of these methods to build it or install it, or if you're using Debian or something, there are other easier ways to install it. You can refer here. But here, since I'm using a Nix Flake, I have an easier way. I just had to add it here. That's it. So I need to get out of the shell and come back. Just a few seconds to install everything. So now that we have the CJSON installed, we need to ask our linker to include it while compiling our program, or actually linking. So that means in the LD flags we need to have a dash L. Okay. So this will make sure that we have CJSON installed, and this will make sure that when we compile it, it's going to be included when we link it. Okay, I hope that works. So including CJSON. Okay, let's include it and see if it works. Perfect. So here you can see that while compiling it, it's adding this during the linking stage. Okay, so the reason why we need CJSON is to be able to respond via as JSON. Okay, so now that we have it, let's add another method to send JSON. So this will allow us to send back JSON, and here we can take a CJSON as an argument. Okay, so this will be application JSON. Okay, actually, since this is from CJSON, we need to convert this into a string and pass it as a body. Okay, so for that, character body equals to CJSON underscore print unformatted. Okay, so this will convert the CJSON reference into a JSON string, and this unformatted means it does not add any spaces or anything in between, which is pretty useless. Okay, and once this is run, you know what, we can also take care of this body. So CJSON also provides a method for that, so we can use CJSON underscore free. So this will also free the memory corresponding to this. Okay, let's see. Conflicting types for response in JSON. Do we have it declared? Webserver.h45. Wow. Huh? Oh, interesting. We called it JSON here. This was HTML, this was JSON, and here this is a CJSON, which means we need to include it here as well. Okay, all good so far. So now that we have a way to send back JSON to the client, we can make use of it inside our function, and let's see if it works. So we'll include this in the main.c file as well. So to keep track of the to-do list, let's make a structure. Type def, let's say type def struct, let's call it to do. Actually, let's make it let's make it caps. So here, what do we need? So we need a title for sure, and let's also add some sort of an identifier, because we will need it when we implement the delete and update methods. Okay, then we need a list of to-dos in the memory, so let's say list of to-dos, or let's say to-do list. Okay, then we also need to keep track of the to-dos count, to-do list count. Okay, so this is the number of items in the list at the moment, and this is the list. We can also make this variable dynamic. So as we did before, we can have a capacity and reassign it whenever there is a need. So let's also do that. Size t to do capacity equals to, let's say initially it can hold 100 to do items. All right, then we also need a method to add something to the to-do list. So let's say to do's add, and it can take just the title. Okay, so this will add something to the to-do list here. Okay, so here to-dos add. Let's implement it in a basic way. So in the index of where this need to be added is the to-do list count. Okay, and to-do underscore list index, the title equals to title. Okay, what else do we need? So we also need the id. So index.id, so we can do like a rand function for now. So this will assign a random number to the id. Do we have stdlib? Nope. So we need stdlib here for the random function, and of course we need to update the to-do list count. Okay, so we also need to create the to-do list in the beginning. So let's do it in the main function. To-do list equals to malloc to-do capacity into size of to-do. So this initializes the array according to the capacity, and let's add a couple of to-do items. Go shopping, I don't know, buy pickles. Okay, so this allocates the to-do list. Add a couple of items to the array. So here we also need to dynamically enhance the array whenever it gets to full. So let's do that here. So if to do list count greater than equals to, what is the name, to the capacity, to do capacity. So in that case we need to double the capacity. Okay, and we need to reallocate this. So this will be to do, okay, to do underscore list equals to realloc, which takes the to do list and to do capacity into size of to do. Okay, yeah, that's out of the way. Let's do a compile and make sure everything works. It should be stdlib. All right, all good. And now last thing is, so here we have the to-do list in an array. So we need to modify the handle get to-dos to be able to respond with the list of to-dos in a JSON format. So let's refer to the documentation of CJSON. So printing, okay, so you can create an object like this, then create a string, add item to object. Okay, so this is how we create an array. It looks interesting. So basically we need to create a JSON array, and we need to create JSON object for each of the items and add it to this array, and then use our function which we made earlier to be able to send it back to the client. Perfect, let's copy this. So so see JSON equals to create array. So this will initialize the array. Okay, now we need to loop through the to-do items. Okay, So we need to first create the object. Item equals to JSON create object. Okay, and inside the object we need to add the ID and the title. So add number, I guess. Okay, so CJSON add number to object. Add, this should be CJSON star. So what will be the object? The name of the parameter and the value. Okay, so add number ID and to do list I dot ID. Okay, and then also string title to do list I underscore title. Okay, now we need to add item to array. So item into JSON array, and this should be a pointer. So this will add the item to array. So here now after this loop we have the list of items here. So all we have to do is change this to send JSON, and the last parameter will be the JSON. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's see if it works. And we have an empty array. Still interesting though, we still have some array even though it's empty. So this to do list count was incremented. Okay, add item to array. JSON. Okay, I think we swapped this. This should be JSON and the item should be the next parameter. Awesome. So now we have the API ready, which returns the JSON objects. Let's see it in the browser to make sure that everything is perfect. Okay, perfect. Now let's go a bit further. There is something we missed here actually. So if you remember, here we are matching the request with the corresponding handler, but in case we are not finding anything, we can do a 404 here. So inform the client that you are in the wrong place. So response and text request and status not found. Uh-oh, you are in the wrong place. Okay, so that takes care of that edge condition. Probably we need some way to like customize it from the main function, but it's pretty good now. Let's test it out. Blue, yay. And we can test it in the browser to make sure that we really get a 404 back. Okay, perfect, we do get a 404. So the get method is almost done. Now that we are here, let's also do the post. So what do we need? So if you remember, we have the body in the request body parameter, so we can use the CJSON to parse it. So all we have to do is do a CJSON parse, and then we can get items from this. Let's do it. Some item, let's call it. Okay, and so what does the client send? So the client will send only the title and Okay, so we just had to extract the title from this JSON object and use this method to add it to our list. Okay, so see JSON get object item case sensitive. Okay, we can use this. So this will be C JSON title. Let's call it J title because this is a JSON and not an actual string itself. So CSON get object from the JSON and it's called title. And if it is a string and if the value string not equals to null, so to do's add J title value string. Okay, actually when we add a to do, we can return the ID here. It may be useful. So in the to do's add, so this will return ID. Actually we can even return the whole to do here or a reference to it. You know what, let's not make it complicated, let's leave it as it is. So here we are adding this to the list, and instead of status okay, let's do a status created, and let's not send anything back, so status should be more than enough. So this is send a status created back to the client. Actually let's make it even better. So if it is in the correct format, it will send back a status created. If not, it will send back what? Bad request. Bad request. Wrong input. Okay. Now let's use HTTP, which will add a post. This is going to send a post request to this URL with the title equals to test. So it says wrong input. Isn't it called title? Okay. So this will parse the body. Aha. So this should be. We forgot a else here. Awesome. There are a lot of extra space here, which so this is because we are sending back an empty body, and it is still adding all those additional /r/n, so we could probably avoid that, but it's okay for now. So it looks good, the post was successful. Let's do a curl to see if it works. To do, and here you can see the last item we added was added to the list. So great. Okay, so it looks good. So now we are getting there, and if you see the main function, it is structure of the main function. We are creating web server, we are creating some items, adding some items, we are adding a couple of handlers, providing the server path and a handler function. In the handler function, we are just creating the response, sending it back. Here parsing the response, using it. So if you see this is pretty similar to a modern application written in a modern web framework, similar to Express.js, Python Flask, or something like that. So this was not the goal, but it is pretty neat to see it come along like this. And this web server is around I don't know, 300 lines long, and it only has a few features which are quite useful, and it can be used to build an actual production server, although it's not recommended. And let's look at the binary. So this whole binary is just 28 kilobytes. So I'm sure if I run this in an actual server, it can handle like billions of requests in a few seconds. We will do a lot of performance tests and everything in the future, so stay tuned. So in the next videos we will enhance these methods even more and make it a bit more generic and more usable. I don't know if this is ever going to be useful in a real world scenario, but this has been an amazing journey so far, isn't it? Also, we'll see how we can create a Docker file based on this, make a container. So maybe we can make a like a very lightweight container and deploy it in my Kubernetes cluster, which I'm running here in my home, and see how it looks. Pretty good. Also, we need to start looking into uh, some HTML templating, how to show this to the user and have the user interact it from a web page rather than through curl. So pretty excited, looking ahead, and see you later. Thank you.